Where did I leave that? Where did I leave the camera? Oh wait, hang on. There you are, under the table, where I left you in 2025. Well, it's 2026 now, so time to look at some new shirts, I guess. Come on, let's get out of there. Happy New Year and welcome back to the Team Dawling channel. Hope you all had a fantastic Christmas and New Year and received plenty of football shirts and football type memorabilia for Christmas. Unless of course you don't like football, which is weird if you're watching this channel. But hey, welcome. I will take viewers from all over the world and with all kinds of passions and hobbies. I was lucky enough to receive a couple of football shirts and football shirt vouchers for Christmas. I also indulged in some of the New Year's and Christmas Boxing Day type sales. So we will get to the new editions at some point. One of them will feature in today's video. But yeah, it's been a decent Christmas period. The shirt room is a little bit more crowded. We're getting some carpets laid in the main bedroom, the landing, the spare bedroom. So a little bit of furniture has migrated into my shirt room for now. You can't really see behind the lamp. We've got a big cupboard over here, which has nothing shirt related or useful in it for now, and a mattress for a bed that we don't yet have, but that is part of the plan for the new bedroom. Aside from that, shirt room's looking good. Ready to improve further in the new year. Got a couple of ideas, and we'll get to that, you know, as the year continues. Before then, I've got a couple of work trips. I've already been on one, off to Glasgow next, which is a significant drive, shall we say. So on to today's content, and I'll show you what we've got. Those of you that follow me on Twitter will know that I picked up this Sampdoria shirt in one of the Classic Football Shirts weekly deals or advent deals leading up to Christmas. My first Sampdoria shirt, and it's one with you know, very nice detail on it. Classic Macron, really, in many ways. So yeah, I was very happy to pick that up. I did, as is routine with my family, give my brother some potential ideas for presents that he might want to give me for Christmas. Just going to give myself a bit of illumination here. There we go, look at that. He got me for Christmas this Sampdoria third shirt from 24-25. Again, as you can see reflected in the light there, some wonderful details on it. Classic Macron stuff. However, this Sampdoria shirt came with a bit of a surprise. So in the packet with the Sampdoria shirt, we had these sponsors that can be pressed on. Now, I know some people like a sponsorless shirt. I sometimes like a sponsorless shirt. I like having a shirt that represents what the players wear on the field. However, having a home shirt sponsorless, the third shirt, providing these in the pack, seems like to me a no-brainer that my first heat press action of the year will be putting these sponsors onto the shirt. So we're going to talk you through that in the video today. So what do I need to do that? Got my trusty tools with me. So what do we need for heat press work? Well, of course, the heat press, which I will turn on in a moment. A couple of other bits and pieces that I always have with me when I'm going to press some shirts. Tape measure, very important. It means you can get things positioned centrally, make sure it's the same distance from either side of the shirt or the right distance from the bottom to the top. There are no hard and fast rules with a lot of things when you apply them to shirts, sponsors, sleeve patches. I tend to work by the rule of 3, but we will take a look at an example of a Sampdoria shirt with the sponsors on, so I can figure out where to put everything. In that mind, we've got a ruler as well for a bit more fine control. As you know, a tape measure can be a little bit crazy. We have scissors to cut the heat press tape. So nothing worse than getting everything lined up and then finding out when you move the shirt, the sponsor or the patch or whatever you're applying moves as well. So the heat press tape is designed to go in the heat press, and that will hold the sponsor in place. As many of you noticed in my previous heat press videos, I do have a Teflon sheet taped to the underside of my heat press at all times, which I find protects the shirts and really stops any of those heat press burn marks getting on the fabric. However, we do apply a second Teflon sheet, so we've got that ready. And then we've got our Teflon heat press cushion, which will go inside the main body of the shirt to apply the chest and the back sponsor. And then we've got the long and thin Teflon pillow, which I will put in the sleeve of the shirt to apply the sleeve sponsor. So we've got everything we need to successfully and hopefully neatly press these sponsors to this shirt. Because it's a very nice shirt, it would be a shame to mess it up. So you know what they say, measure once, cut twice. So I'll turn the heat press on, get that clicking away. These sponsors come in a packet with the shirt. There's no instructions on temperature or anything like that. So I'm going to go with my tried and tested 15 seconds at 140 degrees. Why 140, you ask? Well, 150 degrees is a temperature where polyester and man-made fabrics and that kind of thing start to burn. I don't want to leave burn marks on a shirt. They really do show up on dark shirts especially. So 140 degrees, 15 seconds should be enough, I think, to get these sponsors onto the shirt. So we'll give it a go. Let's get the heat press on and clicking away. Okay, so one of the other things that it's important to do when you're applying sponsors and that kind of thing is figure out where they go. It doesn't take long to do a bit of research, but you need to make sure that you're happy with where you're placing stuff. So I found a couple of examples online of where these sponsors go. It's not too bad, and this shirt, by having a band across the chest, actually will make it a bit easier to get things straight. So as you can see here, the chest sponsor will go just above the stripe. We've got the sleeve sponsor, which goes on the left sleeve. Now, if we look on this other website here, we can see that the rear sponsor goes at the back of the shirt. So we will apply them accordingly. So the first job for me to do while the heat press is getting to temperature will be to measure up and tape up to make sure all the sponsors are in the right place. I'll probably do them one at a time, I think, just there's not too much taping going on. So we'll do the front of shirt sponsor first, and then we'll work on the back and the sleeve. Okay, so we've got the chest sponsor taped on, ready to go. The heat press is clicking away and it is at 138 degrees, so it'll soon start clicking and be ready to go. So we'll speak of the devil, and the devil arrives. So yeah, we will get the cushion inside and get it ready to press and see if this comes out as we want it. Okay, so the cushion is positioned inside the shirt, and we're just going to put the top layer of Teflon over, so that will protect the rest of the shirt here from the hot plate. The heat press is ready to go, so you'll hear it clicking, so it heats up, cools down, just to maintain temperature. So I think we'll give this a go and see how it comes out. Let's have a look. Okay, there we go. So shirt is pressed. Like I said, no instructions. So some of these sponsors and decals and patches and so on would be hot cool, some would be cold cool, some would be tepid cool, so instant peel. I think what we'll do is we will just leave it for a moment just to cool down a little bit. Just give it a chance to stick, and then I'll give it a peel off and see if that works. Okay, so time to give it a peel. Let's see how this goes. Okay, so I've left it to cool for about 30 seconds, so it's still warm. but I don't know if you can see from there, it seems to be coming off fairly well. Just get this tape to come off there as well. And yeah, it's looking pretty good. You know, you don't want to be too aggressive with the peel. This sponsor has got some small details here in the logo, so just, you know, be careful with it. I can see a couple of tiny corners there where it's come up just a little bit. So just on the corner of the diamond, I don't know if you can quite see it from there, but just on the corner of the diamond here, it's come up. So what I'm going to do is just put the Teflon sheet over the top of it, put the cushion back in for a second, and just give that about 5 seconds just to make sure that that is fully pressed down. You can really feel the temperature of the plastic when you put it straight back underneath there. So this should all hopefully be happy now. There we go. So that is the first part done. Sponsor applied to the chest. We'll have a proper look at it all at the end. So the next stage is, of course, to put the sleeve sponsor in place. And then we'll do the back sponsor last, I think. So as we can see from the pictures, or as we saw from the pictures earlier, it is a left sleeve sponsor. So what we need to do is just get it central, really. There's no hard and fast rules for these. Like I said, I use the rules of 3, so I tend to measure my gaps in 6 and 3, 6 and 12 and try and get it central. So again, we'll get it sort of roughly lined up. You can see where the center of the Macron logo is, and we'll put it down there, and then we'll get the ruler and just adjust it accordingly from either from the cuff or from the top of the cuff. It really just depends on how you think the shirt looks. Now in this case, I think 3 centimeters from the top of the cuff, too high. So, and in this case, the cuff itself is a 3 centimeter cuff. So really, we just want to make sure it's straight and looks okay. From the pictures, it sits not quite centrally between the logo and the top of the cuff. So we'll put it slightly closer to the cuff. We'll use the ruler to make sure it lined up straight. I'll just put the lamp back on to give me a bit more light to do this. So obviously trying to make sure that we don't blind you as I'm doing it. So, I mean, that looks pretty straight to me. So let's get some tape on there. Okay, so there we go. Tape is applied, sponsor is on. Let's get the sleeve cushion in there, and then we will get this sponsor applied. It seemed to go okay with the temperature setting from last time, so we'll do the same again. It's actually at the moment my heat press is set to 12 seconds, not 15. Now then, what we've seen here is as I've moved it, the tape actually has come off. So before I go and put that under the press, I'll just give it an adjustment to make sure that it's still straight. Fabric, of course, is not always going to be straight. Actually, yeah, it's a bit of an optical illusion. Actually, it doesn't seem to have shifted. So let's get this onto the heat press, and we'll get this one pressed as well. Some people are quite anal about the way that they put the shirt under the heat press, so they'll make sure it's all folded nicely and that kind of thing before they go under here. It's not really something that bothers me, because I always give the shirt a little press on completion to straighten it out, get any creases out, because it's impossible when you're doing this really to avoid getting creases in it. So I always give it a little extra press at the end, maybe 5 seconds, just like a little cheap iron, really, just to make sure that it's not crinkled in any unsightly way before it goes back on the hanger. The other thing that you may have noticed with the heat press is that there is a rubber mat that comes with a heat press. It looks like this. So this is the rubber mat. It's quite thick. Heat press work is about temperature and it's about pressure. They're the two things that you need to think about. And I've just found that by taking the rubber off the bottom of the heat press and using the cushions, I've managed to achieve the right pressure setting with the setting on the heat press. It's just the way I do it. You know, not to say that's the right way or the only way, but it works okay for me. Other people will leave the mat in underneath. What the mat can do is, if it potentially protects the shirt from the corners of the metal here, but if you're cushioned enough, that doesn't really come into play if you're careful. So let's give this a press. Like I said, it's set for 12 seconds on the timer at the moment. So we'll let it go for 12, and it'll beep to say it's done. We'll leave it for a few seconds more. There we go. So that's about right there. Nice jolt there. These heat presses are quite violent bits of kit sometimes. There we go. So we'll leave that to cool for a few moments. Taking the cushion out helps that, because the cushion does absorb a lot of heat. I just ran my finger across it and it was very warm. So that's how warm this is. So if you want the sleeve patch to cool a bit quicker, take the cushion out of it, and then take the shirt obviously off of the press, off of the metal, because it will cool quicker. Okay, so here we go, our sleeve sponsor, Sojiko containers, or whatever they are called. Let's see if this is ready to peel. Let's give it a go. It appears to be the case. So again, this sponsor hasn't really got any intricate parts like the chest sponsor. That had some little diamonds there, which again, I suggest you just, there's no prizes for ripping the plastic off quickly. But at the same time, you know, you don't need to be afraid of it. But I would just say, you know, when you're coming to a new edge, just feel your way in, because you don't know 100%, especially with printing like this where there are no instructions. You don't know exactly what you're going to get. So, you know, it might start peeling the patch straight back off the shirt again, which you don't want. In this occasion, however, it looks pretty good. Still a little bit warm, but yeah, it's come off nicely. What you will find when you put sponsors on, it's not too bad on a dark shirt in this light as well. You'll probably find that you get a little sort of square outline where the plastic was. No emergency there. Like I said, at the end of this process, once I've done the back sponsor, I'll put the whole shirt into the press just for 5 seconds. We'll do the front, we'll do the back, we'll do the sleeve, and it will then remove any marks that the plastic has left around your sponsor. Let's say you don't want to have any marks on your shirt, obviously. But yeah, happy with how that's come up. So I'll get the back ready and we will do the final part of the shirt. Okay, so the rear sponsor on the drawings was kind of a little bit up from the bottom of the shirt. The main thing really for me is to make sure it's as central as I can make it and as straight as I can make it. So I think based on the images, somewhere around there would be right. I'll measure it up from the seam at the bottom. So that actually, where I've placed it, talking about the rule of 3, is 9 centimeters, give or take, from the bottom there. So then what I tend to do with something like this as well, I need to make sure, of course, that it's central. So I've laid the shirt out as flat as I can with the seams down the side. It looks to me like we've got it pretty flat, so I will measure from side to side and see how far from the side of the shirt each part of the sponsor is. So on that side it is a smidge over 14.5 from the side, and then this side it is 12.5. So what that tells me is we need the sponsor to move over a little bit. So let's do that. We'll get it central, and then you can use the ruler to match up using the lines, just to make sure the bottom of the letters, that the straight edge letters here, so you've got V's, I's, A's that you can use for this, make sure that they're straight in comparison with the seam on the bottom half there. So let's try that again. So we've moved it over, so now it's just under 13 and just over 13, so we've gone a little bit too far. So let's go this side. I think somewhere around there we might start getting some success. So that 14 bang on, about 13.7. So I think now we're at the point where we can do it by eye, really. We're 0.3 centimeter, so let's just move it there. If anyone's going to come up to me if I'm wearing this and measure my back to 0.3 of a centimeter, then each to their own, I suppose. So what I've also done in shuffling around a bit is we've moved the sponsor up a little. So I'm going to bring it down, get it to where the rule of 3. Let's get it to about 9. There we go. So now that is in line with the seam on the bottom of the shirt. So we'll tape it up, get it underneath the press. Okay, so that is the sponsor taped up. Do you have to use 4 bits of tape? You don't have to, no. It's the way I do it. But at the end of the day, you'll be pressing your own shirt, so you want to be as careful as you want to be. It'll probably be fine with 2 bits of tape, but it's inexpensive. It lasts for ages. There's loads on a roll, so why take risks, I say. I want all of my shirts to be nice and be presentable. So yeah, do it with 4 bits. I say all of my shirts. I do occasionally press shirts for other people as well, so their shirts get the same treatment that mine do. Okay, so the shirt is back on the press for the final sponsor. Now, if someone was to ask me what is the most important or the best piece of equipment that I've bought since I started using the heat press, it would definitely be these pillows. They just make life a lot easier for me. On some presses, you'll see people try and put the shirt around the bottom of the press, so you're feeding the shirt over and under, and it just adds to the difficulty. The more interaction you have with this metal bottom plate as well, the more risk you have of nicking the shirt as well, pulling the shirt, and you don't want that. So these pillows are really good, and they do take a lot of the potential crease marks from the side of the machine as well. You'll see some shirts online that have been pressed, and you can see obviously a square around the sponsor. That's down to 2 reasons. One reason will be because the shirt itself is being creased and pressed around the shape of the press itself, so you'll get a fold, a crease, which comes up when it's pressed. And then the second reason, like I said earlier, will be because the temperature is too high, or the press is held for too long and it burns the material. So what you get is maybe a fold around the edge. It certainly shows in the corners. So if this is overhanging a corner and you press it, you'll see in the corner clear evidence of the position of the press. And it can be difficult to get those out sometimes as well. But yeah, you'll see, if you know what you're looking for, when you look online, you'll see a shirt that has been pressed, I wouldn't say badly, but it's not been pressed to a standard that I'll be happy with anyway. My first few shirts that I did myself, I did burn a couple. I have a black Milan shirt there, and I would never feel comfortable selling it because you can see that the square around the number where the black of the fabric is a slightly different color, because I was pressing at 150 plus, because that's what the instructions for the sponsors and the numbers said. I know some people will say follow the instructions. I never go over 100 and 150. I do most of my pressing 140. Two reasons for that, and you'll see actually before I press this down that the press target temperature is 140, but it actually heats to 150, lets it drop a bit and then heats more. The reason for that is just the way some presses work. This press works in a way where it maintains a slightly higher temperature, but that is dissipated across the plate. So it won't necessarily be 150 degrees across this whole plate. So that means that if I was to set a target of 150, the plate is going to heat to 160, and then you're definitely in burning territory. So because that's the way my press works, 140 is the limit I'll go to. The only part of the instructions that I follow for name sets and numbers that I put on is the peel. So some are instant peel, so you peel them when they're hot, piping hot. Some you let cool completely, some you just let cool for a few seconds. If you're in doubt, or if you've got a sponsor or a name set like these that haven't got any instructions, I always go down the route of let them cool for a little bit. Just try and pull the corner off slightly, and if the corner comes up and it looks like the rest of the sponsor is going to come off nice and easily there, then keep going. If it looks like it's pulling the sponsor back up off the fabric, put it back down, maybe give it a quick 2 or 3 second burst just to reset that bit you've partially peeled, and then let it cool before trying it again. The worst thing is the worst thing you could do is pull the sponsor partially off and malform or break or damage the sponsor or name set or whatever, and then you can't really press it back down again because it'll have a crease in it, it'll have a bit missing, or have a deformity that is obvious. So patience is the key. And like I said, if in doubt, if you've got no instructions like these, let it cool for a bit first, and then give it a go. Pressing stuff is never anything to be scared of, I'd say, but these are these garments that we buy, they're not cheap. The last thing you want to do is buy yourself a shirt that you like and then potentially spoil it a little bit by just not pressing it the way that it should be done, or being unsure. So I'd say to anyone, getting a heat press is a fantastic hobby. It is a lot of fun. It's very relaxing. It's very cathartic. It is quite relaxing. It's not technically or physically difficult, but you've got an aim in place, so you go for it. See here, this is not a crease from the heat press, and that's actually just the stripe on the other side. As you can see there, so the stripe is stitched in, so it shows up on the back there, especially when you press something flat on top of it. What we'll do now then, if I can keep this from falling off the table, we will peel the rear sponsor. Hopefully that will come off as well as everything else. And then we will get some get the cushions back out. Just pop the shirt under for a couple of seconds on each side, just to make sure that there are no marks from the plastic around these sponsors we've applied, and then we should hopefully be all done. Okay, time for the moment of truth. This is a fairly chunky sponsor, so there's no real parts of this I'm worried about, but we'll, take your time. See, here's a couple of little details just in here, just in the palm tree part. Those bits, if it wasn't done at the right temperature, or the glue wasn't quite in a state where it could peel yet, that bit could come back off, and then you just, you're having a bit of a nightmare. But I mean, this bit is coming off lovely. Again, it should come off quite easily. If you feel a teeny bit of resistance, just slow down. There's no need to rush it. And there you go. Upside down, yes, but sponsor is done. And you can see actually from here, see there's just a little bit of a mark in the fabric here and here. That's from the tape actually, that's from the shape of the tape where I take the plastic on. So we will get these under the press and we'll just make sure they're all nice and flat, presentable, and we're good to go. Okay, so that is mission accomplished. So there we go. We've got the front sponsor on, and we've got the sleeve sponsor on, which those containers got to get sponsored somehow, and the rear sponsor is on. And yeah, pretty happy with that, how it came out. There's no scorching from the heat press. There are no marks left in there, no creases from the tape. I think I've got it lined up pretty nicely. So yeah, another successful heat press adventure. So yeah, mission complete then. Very happy with the way these have turned out. Impossible to come by the away shirt for this season. You'll notice if you do shop on Classic Football Shirts that the away shirt was not part of their Advent deals. So it would be nice to complete the set, but for now on, these two, very happy with them. So we'll put them into the collection where they belong. So in the Italy section behind Roma and ahead of Udinese, because it's alphabetical. So there we go. So as you may all know, Twitter or X is an important part of the football shirt community. We never really embraced Blue Sky, which is a shame. I'm as guilty of that as of everybody else. I think, if we're being honest with ourselves, a lot of people didn't want to start again with 0 followers and 0 influence and that kind of thing, which is a shame because it's not why most of us are in football shirts, but everyone likes to feel like people are talking to them, paying attention. However, I think we've all seen recently that X it's not a nice place to be sometimes. Without getting too political, it is a cesspit of anger, lies, a whole bunch of stuff that I don't want to see. Most people don't want to see. I've spoken about it on my account before. I've got my account locked down. I use a whole bunch of third-party extensions and apps and browsers that filter out everything that I don't want to see on there. I don't have a For You feed. I don't have a trending column. I don't have Grok. It's all blocked. I literally just have a chronological feed of the people and the accounts that I follow. That's it. If I see anything that I don't want to see, it's usually because somebody else has retweeted it, and you can accept that. It's not 100% foolproof, but of course in recent days and recent weeks, with the way things are going in the world, I've seen a lot more stuff that I don't want to see because people are retweeting it because it's important. People are talking about it, and that's obviously fine. As most of you know, my job is sort of in that field anyway, so I do think about the world quite often. So I like to turn off if I can, which is what the internet is for. So with that in mind, I've created a football shirt forum I don't know how old everyone is that watches these videos or even collects football shirts. But when I first came onto the internet as a younger person, sort of 25 years ago now, forums were a huge thing. It's a self-policed space of people that share a common interest. So I'll put a link in the description to the video to the forum, Football Shirt Forum. I'd love it if you could come over there and join me on there. Not as a replacement for Twitter, not as a replacement for social media and the internet, but a backup plan if not anything else. So I will start posting on there and putting some things on there in the coming days and weeks. But yeah, it would be nice to have a dedicated space, and I don't want it just to be a place for me to appear to be more important than I am. I'm not important at all, but I'd like it to be a shared collaborative space that we can just maintain together as football shirt collectors. So I've put a link in the description. Come along and have a look, see what you think. If you've got any suggestions, let me know. The very worst case, sign up, and if X does get blocked in this country, or whatever country you're watching from at some point, you'll have a place where you can find other shirt collectors. So yeah, that's my slightly off topic part of the video. But yeah, hopefully 2026 can be a good year for everyone. I'm wishing you all the very best, and I will see you in the next video. Whenever that may be, probably February. Until then, have a great time. So see you later, and bye for now.